Hey guys, how's it going today? So, much like other times, I'm going to be rambling on about something or another, but today I'm going to be talking about something that some of you have experienced in your own variation or another, which is having a job, being schizoid, and having a wagey job of some kind. And it's not fun usually, but I'll start from the top and then get to the more interesting job, which is the last one I had, which is a little more NSFW. That's why I put the little warning on there, because some of the content might get a little explicit. But, you've been warned. In any case, my first job was at well, initially I would work with my father at his company when I was before I was even 18. Did some work there for a little while. I wouldn't count it as anything real. Just did some kind of basic, you know, basic bitch labor there. Um, but after that, when I got a bit older and I got my own job, where you actually had to go get an interview and stuff, my first job was at Blockbuster when I was like, I was 19 or 18. No, 19, 19. But anyway, I worked over 20. I don't remember. Point is, I worked at Blockbuster for a couple years. Um, as you can imagine, it wasn't like the sweetest gig or anything. I usually had to wake up pretty early, open. Once I became a shift lead, I'd be opening the store and everything, getting everything going, and so on and so forth. About the only thing I liked about it at the time, because I had been mostly single during those years, um, was that, well, halfway through, I don't remember exactly when, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Point is, the only thing I dug about the job was the movies, because I like film. So being able to talk about movies was kind of cool, especially since it would pass the time. I would find like somebody that liked movies that was in the store, a customer or something, and then I would just ramble on about a film or two or genres and the such. And I would kind of just use customers that were interested in film in some kind of engaging way to pass the time. Um, and I would almost get annoyed when I had to help people, like actually ring up and things like that. That was one of the nice things about once I became a shift lead, is that I was able to do like a lot of the other work and would leave the registers mostly to other people. And then I would just focus on like, projects or things that need to be accomplished, or, a bunch of other work that needed to be done. Changes to the films, stuff like that. And that was a lot more enjoyable because I would just kind of go across the wall, switching out movies, opening boxes, and then if I saw somebody looking at a movie I liked and wanted to pass a little time, I'd be like discussing that movie for a bit. Especially if I saw anybody eyeing all the horror films and things, because that's kind of my expertise. After that job, I moved to a different one, which was Game Crazy, back when it was still around. That job was actually cooler because it was a smaller store. I became a shift lead there as well. Um, and then during that time, most of the days, like if I wasn't ringing people up or trying to sell them systems or warranties or some other bullshit, the fun part is on the days that were completely dead, I was able just to use the demo systems and just play whatever video games I wanted. We weren't supposed to do that, but our manager didn't really give too much of a shit, as long as it wasn't affecting our ability to do our job in some respect. But either way, like just play video games all fucking day. And when customers came in, they saw you playing video games, they wouldn't bat an eye, obviously, because they like video games themselves. So they'd be like, "Oh, hey, what are you playing?" And I'd just be like, "Oh, I'm playing this." I'm like, "What can I help you with?" Blah blah blah. And then if they didn't need anything, I'd just be like, "Oh, good. I can keep playing video games." Um, so that was an interesting job. And then there was movies there too, so I did take advantage of like the fact that we would take trade-ins for movies, and I amassed a pretty big DVD collection at the time. DVDs, remember those? Um, anyway, some of you probably didn't even never even owned a DVD, which is funny, like the really young ones. Um, After that, I worked at Fresh and Easy. Uh, grocery store, if you remember those. The one thing that's funny about my work history is that almost every job I've ever worked at is now gone. Like part of the reason those jobs I stopped having those jobs is because they went out of business, or they ended soon after I went to a different job. So Blockbuster gone, Game Crazy gone, Fresh and Easy gone. So it's pretty funny that my part of my resume is just full of fucking jobs that don't exist anymore. Kind of suits the whole Zoid life, right? Anyway, so Fresh and Easy was interesting. At first, I worked as just like a regular stock person mixed with customer service stuff up front aisle, because when you work there, they pretty much had you do a little bit of everything. So that was all right. I preferred stocking things and to standing out front with the customers, obviously. Um, but then I got offered a position there that was actually really cool. It was the baking section. The only thing that's nice about it is that I spent about 80% of my time in a back room baking bread by myself. And they allowed me to wear headphones, so I could just wear headphones and listen to music well, after. But then we got this other boss, and he was an asshole, and he wouldn't let us do that. But initially, I didn't care, and I would just help people with their bread needs. And I had to keep track of stuff in the freezer because it was like a lot of frozen stuff and bread, things like that. Um, but sometimes they would pull me out of the bakery because they need me to fill in other spots, and it sucked. I hated that, so I just wanted to stay in the bakery. And there was like a little fixtures of bread between me and that rest of the store, so unless customers were poking their heads over, like they couldn't really see me too well, and so it just kind of let me work back there for hours at a time, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it was boring as fuck, but at least I could like listen to music. Um, it was demanding though, because I was like the one baker for 8 or 9 hours, and it would just be like, keep pumping out the fucking bread, keep pumping out the fucking bread. But outside of that, it was fine. Um, then I was going to university by then, and I got a few jobs there. I got paid to be like a tutor for a while. Well, not a tutor. It was like I would have to like manage teams of students to help them like get engaged with the work. A lot of undergrads, and help them like pass all their like history classes and shit. Because that was like I guess my emphasis that I would help them with is history, and I would get them to pass all their 101s and stuff. Especially if they think they needed the extra help to understand what the fuck was going on in class. So had like a side gig doing that at the university, and then got another side gig helping the history department, like in an office setting, kind of like helping with phone calls and students, history department, like paperwork, all kinds of shit, printing stuff for like professors, blah blah blah. All this I was doing at the same time as uh, you know, going to school and everything. The job I got, the more like full time sort of job that I got after Fresh and Easy, it was this is where it gets a little more NSFW. It was romantics. I ended up working at a sex shop. So yeah, you can imagine how awkward that would be for a lot of Zoids trying to talk to random strangers about sex stuff all day. It wasn't weird for me. I'm pretty open about those things. I don't really care. Considering the indifference, it's hard for me to really find anything to be bashful about. But the job itself was interesting. Initially, I worked under this guy that just didn't give a shit about anything. The manager was just kind of nuts and super mad all the time and yelling at everyone, and it was kind of funny. At the time, I was still kind of dealing with some anxiety, so that part wasn't always the best. But now I look back on it and I kind of smile. It was a funny time. And basically the job just consisted of me, going up to people, walking into this little store looking for fucking dildos and all kinds of stuff, and then approaching them and being like, hey, what are you doing here? What would you like to insert into your body that I can help you with? And Obviously didn't say that, but I would say variations of that depending how, how much humor they were up for. I learned a bunch of tactics on how to like talk to people and how to approach others and, um, everything like that. How to kind of manipulate situations and conversations in order to like get them to buy more stuff because essentially I would get like a percentage or like bonuses and stuff. So it's kind of like a commission type thing. So the more shit I sold during my shift, the more, they'd add to my paycheck. So it incentivized me. And by then I had, my first daughter and my wife and everything. So I was like, okay, I need to make some money. And apparently, in general, even at the other jobs, I've always been really good at customer service, talking to people, ironically, convincing them to purchase things and things like that. I had already done, like, I was always like the best salesman or best membership pusher or whatever. And like most of my other jobs and whatever they were offering, whether they were memberships or certain like products that they wanted to get out the store or push, because of events or something. I was always the guy they'd go to at every job. I'd be like, hey, just tell John and he'll sell a bunch. And I just think it's funny. I think it's just studying people for so long that made me good at selling things to them. Perhaps. I don't know. I know the tactics to use as far as like complimenting them, using information about them, looking at them and then picking up vibes, picking up the types of stuff they might be into or react to, their attitude, tone and voice, all kinds of shit, body language. And I guess using all that, I was pretty successful at selling things. And the same thing happened at the sex shop. It was just different because I was selling them pocket pussies and dildos and porn and stuff. But I have a few interesting stories, to say the least. Because we also possess something that not most sex shops possess, which was an arcade. Now, this is where it gets a little dicey. An arcade is a location, and for those that don't know, because probably most people don't, is a place in which gentlemen usually, not always just gentlemen, but I would say 90% of the time, go into a small booth and they watch a film and do their thing. But technically speaking, they're supposed to only be watching a movie and sitting there quietly. But as you can imagine, they don't always follow the official rules very well. So prior to actually being put up front, my first job at this place was essentially janitorial. So I had to like go around the back room arcade and just be cleaning up like pretty much cum all day. I would say I just had to clean cum off walls and cum off the floor and come off the TV screens, and it's just lots and lots and lots of cum all the time. And told you it'd get gross. So that's what I did for probably the first 6-7 months of that job until they kind of figured out, oh shit, this guy can sell things. And then they started throwing me up front more often. They kind of cut my janitorial stuff in half, and then after like I think a year and a half, they were just like, let's just keep, like, they basically would just keep me up front most of the time. Like 2 years later, like I was just up front. I worked there for about, I think almost 5 years. And I mean, it paid okay because I was good at sales. And I just put up initially with all the janitorial shit because I did want to move to the register because I knew about the bonuses and stuff. And I was like, I can make that work. And on top of that, the pay itself at the time was not bad considering how gross the job was. But probably due to my schizoid sort of indifference, I didn't give a fuck. I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll clean cum. I don't care. Just give me like gloves and a suit, like a hazmat suit and some masks and shit, and goggles. I'm good. Just throw me in the fucking cum rooms. So, there's servers that I've seen have like cum rooms. I literally worked inside a bunch of cum rooms. So, yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, it's pretty disgusting. And generally, the clientele that would go back there was I mean, I can't obviously you can't just tell, but most of the time it was kind of more homosexual in nature, as you can imagine, um, considering it's a bunch of dudes in various rooms watching porn. And funny enough, like oftentimes they would try to sneak into each other's booths to watch movies together, and that wasn't allowed. That was the one thing that like we had to keep an eye on. We weren't supposed to let them do that. If they did it on low key, because we had security cams, thank God not in the rooms, but like on the halls. And if we saw it, like if they were being kind of like whatever about it, I didn't get crazy. But if they were being ridiculous, like just making it too blatant, oh man, I had to take care of it. I could be like, oh shit, I gotta take care of this. So then oftentimes I would go and I'd have to basically break them up, which is weird. I mean, considering, right? I'm gonna break them up. Yeah, it was common, and they'd be there with their dicks hanging out, hard as rocks, and sometimes inside each other. So I'd be like, you guys gotta leave. You can't do that. And they'd be like, come on, man. like, yeah, I'm just gonna close the door and let you get your nut. I'm like, nah, man, you can't be doing this shit. You gotta go. And since my flat affect was just kind of like, just go. I wouldn't really get mad unless they were being stupid and they wouldn't just leave. And then that's when I would have to take a tone with them and stop giving a shit. Had to call the cops a few times on people that would refuse to leave their rooms. Many times though, the rooms, there's a trash bin in them, which is initially there was none when I first started there, so they would just fucking lay waste to the fucking the floor. It's horrific. But I convinced, like, I think my managers at the time, like, we need to put trash bins in there. And their argument was, if we put trash bins in there, other things are gonna happen. And I'm like, I know, but it's better than it's on the floor, because people would take shits like right on the floor. It was horrible. I'm guessing, and there was also instances that I think it was like somebody got fucking unplugged or something by someone else and just boom, just hit the ground. So yeah, that part was the worst. There's always pee on the walls and god damn. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so once we got the trash cans, it did get better as far as the nut goes, because like they would just kind of do it into the dumpster usually. The nice ones, the ones that were like regulars and cool, like I don't know, they'd usually buy condoms up front, because we tried to sell them like condoms, like, oh here, like extras, kind of like, would you like fries with that? We had condoms, shit like that. And oftentimes if they bought like an arcade ticket, I'd be like, oh, you want to buy a condom? Nothing related to the arcade, since you're just gonna go watch a movie, but would you like to buy a condom? And the cool ones would just use that, and then throw that in the dump, in the trash can, and then you have a trash can full of used condoms and like lube and stuff. And that wasn't too bad. But some of them just didn't give a fuck, or maybe they had some weird fetish or something, and they just smear everywhere. But the worst situations were the poop ones. It was horrible, man. Like one instance in particular, just skip this part if you don't want to hear anything too disgusting, like maybe the next minute. There was a room that was literally top to bottom covered in shit. Like this guy had shit in his hand or something and just smeared it everywhere. Just shit everywhere. And I had to fucking hazmat up and clean that shit. Shit. Just shit everywhere. I'm talking like all over the screen, like smeared everywhere. I'm not talking just like a pile of shit. No, everywhere on the walls. And it was like a small, like, I don't know, man, like 5x5, like 5, like across, like 5. I don't know how many square feet. I'm not good with that stuff, but it was small. To say the size of a medium closet or something. And it would just poop everywhere. And yeah, that was cool. Not really. Oh, sometimes I'd find like, what is it? pickles and squashes, all sorts of vegetables that I guess they were using, like with a condom on it, that they were using as like dildos, which I have no idea. I have no idea why they would use that of all things, but they did. They liked using that. Um, and you know, there'd be like dildos and other things lost in there, cheap rubber ones getting left in the trash cans, sometimes like up on top of the booths. So, you know, a variety of things. Um, Trying to think back at some other situations that were somewhat similar. There was also people that would come just very high on drugs and start screaming, yelling, or singing, or speaking, or homeless people that would try to get back there. And if they had the money to go back there, we had to let them in. But some of them kind of smelled bad sometimes, so that was pretty disgusting. They'd stink up a whole room. I would always hope that those smelly, really smelly homeless people would do something for me to be able to just kick them out. Later on, though, when I had better managers, they let me kind of tell those people like, yeah, I'm not selling you a ticket, like, and then when they would ask why, I'd be like, because it wouldn't be conducive to this business to sell you a ticket. And if they kept pushing, like, well, why? It's all homeless and shit. I'd be like, because you stink, because you smell really bad. And if you go in there, the whole room will smell bad, and people will leave, and we will lose money. I said it just like that, and they would just be like, "You're fucking rude," and I'm like, "Okay." I just be like, "Okay." What do you want me to do? You smell like shit, dude. Like, you know. Um, when we get like really belligerent people, like meth heads, tons of meth heads. Oh my god, so many meth heads, and I can't stand, to this day I cannot stand being around a single meth head because of that job. Like I mean, they're already annoying as fuck to begin with, but because of that job, I cannot. I'll fucking blow up on you real quick if you're a fucking meth head that's being annoying as fuck. I want to just fucking grab you and throw you out a goddamn window. Fucking hate fucking meth heads. Like, you know, if somebody does fucking meth, I don't know, whatever. I don't condone it, but if you're fucking meth head, like dumb as fuck, just walking around all stupid, loud, begging for money, like just all crazy. Oh, I fucking hate you, man. I hate you. So I don't care. I don't care if I lose a 2, 3 subscriber meth heads. I fucking hate you. Um, I'm not saying that they're bad people because they're, you know, they fell prey to addiction, but Jesus Christ, like I've met meth heads that I'm just like, okay, well at least they shower and they can kind of be functional, but some of them are just completely non-functional and totally belligerent and crazy as fuck. Um, God, we had so many of those. So it's early on in that job, I had to get a security card because pretty much I was janitorial slash security. That's probably why I paid okay. And so I would have to like fucking kick people the fuck out and eventually call the cops, yell at them, all kinds of shit. It was a very confrontational job sometimes, but I didn't mind because I don't know. I just mask up like this like person that gave a shit, you know, that like, oh, it's really aggressive, get the fuck out, all that stuff. You know, it's just a persona that worked. And inside, in reality, I was just thinking, God, I hate this. It's so stupid. You're so stupid. Just leave. I don't want to do this. I want to deal with this. Go away. Man, there's so much to tell. It's hard to figure out where to. I mean, there's let me think of a few. There was one time that there was this like trans prostitute that like refused. She was a black trans prostitute that like went in there and was just being really obnoxious, but also like making it really obvious that they were prostituting. So then I had to tell them, hey, you gotta go. Like, you can't do that stuff here. Like, you can't be soliciting yourself in our arcade. And they got like crazy, all mad, and they like fucking locked themselves in the booth, and they wouldn't leave. And they started yelling, and Oh, and I remember now what happened was, yeah, they were doing that, but they were also trying to bring in, they're like trying to bring in contraband essentially, because we wouldn't allow people to take like bags with them because, they could be doing drugs back there or, other shit. So we wouldn't let them take bags, and we'd hold their backpacks or whatever they had on them behind the counter before they can go into the arcade. And so this particular prostitute was like, nah, I'm going back there. So then she went back there, and we were like, nah, you gotta go. You can't go back there with that, or you gotta give us a bag. I ain't giving you my bag. And then she left and came back. She tried to hide it underneath like a coat or something, and it just wasn't flying. And eventually, yeah, they locked themselves in there, and they wouldn't leave. I tried to reason with them. I was like, are you gonna make me like, sometimes I wouldn't even get mad. I would just be like, are you gonna make me call the cops? And then they're gonna come, and then they're gonna tell you to leave, and then this was like a huge waste of time for the both of us. Like, can you just fucking go? Like, what is this? What are you hoping to accomplish right now? And I told them that. And sometimes it would work, honestly. They would just leave, just reason with them. But this one, no, refused, didn't care. Um, some bullshit. It's just yelling and getting upset. Called the cops, and right before the cops arrived, they run out of the fucking booth, out the emergency back exit, because there was the one in the arcade, like screaming, "I'll be back. This isn't over. This isn't over. I'll be back." They never came back, but they cursed at us, and in their high heels, running and screaming. Um, Another instance was was like, I'm trying to think of, like, there's guys that would like call you over and be like, "Oh, my movie's not working. It's not working. Can you check it out?" And you go over to like see what's going on with their video or whatever, because they're not supposed to be like naked in there or whatever. So I walk over there and just be standing there stroking their dick, and I'm like, "Oh man, are you serious?" Like, I'd be like, "Bro, what the fuck? Close your door. Do that shit again, you're gonna be banned permanently from the store." He's like, "Oh, sorry, man. I just, my movie wasn't working." I'm like, "Yeah, right. Okay, whatever." Um, if they got hostile, I'd be like, "Get your fucking dick in your pants and get the fuck out." Like, what are they gonna say? Because that's the thing. Oh, they're customers, right? But what are they gonna say? Who are they gonna complain to? Like, oh, they're gonna call corporate and be like, "Hey, I was stroking my cock, and this guy got mad at me for having my dick out, and I wanted him to watch." Right? So, all kinds of shit like that. And sometimes I'd fucking catch people doing meth or whatever, smoking shit in the fucking booths. I had to kick them out for that. Um, People would be, just too obvious. They'd start fucking really loud in there, like, because, like, two of them went to a booth and they'd be, like, fucking huffing and puffing and shit all loud as fuck. And it's like, oh man, come on. If you're gonna do this shit, try to sneak through past us, like, stop that. Don't fucking make it so obvious. Fucking getting smashed up against the wall. God damn. This is all just the arcade. I haven't even gotten to the fucking other portion, which is um, the actual store part. But um, yeah, it was an interesting job, that part. The more enjoyable part is once I got to the front register, but even then, it would just get just as weird sometimes, because I'd have to deal managerial, because they made me like a lead or whatever, and so I'd have to deal with like fucking. Well, actually, what's funny is I never got made into a lead because I never wanted the responsibilities of a lead, because I would actually make more money not being one because of my sales. So if I would have taken a lead position, then I would have had less time for sales, which in turn would have cut my paycheck. And it would have made a difference if they paid me more by the hour, because I was already making a lot more by just selling things. But because I was there so long and I knew everything, they kind of treated me like one anyway, in some respects. They wouldn't care if I trained people and things like that, because they knew. Um, that was cool too. Like, the job usually attracted weirdos and kind of. Oh man, dude, there's so many aspects to this fucking job to talk about. I haven't gotten to coworkers. But anyway, at the front end of the store, and if you guys ever have more questions about this job and things I saw there, you can ask whatever. Join the. Oh, that reminds me. That's right. Like, subscribe, hit the fucking bell. Um, uh, knock on wood. Also, uh, there's a fucking Twitter, all that kind of bullshit if you want to follow. I doubt anyone uses that. If you're a Schizoid, go to the Discord. It's in the About Me. Join, join, join. More Schizoids. Cool. Trying to build up a Schizoid community, which is insane, but I don't care. I'm insane. But if you like the project, this community project, if you like the channel and anything I'm doing, go to Patreon, help me out if you want. If you don't, whatever. I also have Subscribestar because apparently some people hate Patreon. I can imagine why. They have their reasons, but I have both. And if you don't like any of that monthly type subscription with bonuses type shit, then go ahead and just PayPal, I guess, if you want to donate toward me and this my efforts building this Zoid community. But in any case, if you do the other forms, there is like special Discord channels for you Zoids that want to help in that way financially. I'd appreciate it. But anyway, whatever. Back to the good stuff. The front register was cool because I got really good, and like anytime I work somewhere, because I'm bored, I'll like read up on everything that has to do with the merchandise or the product. So due to the years that I worked there, I've become kind of like an expert on like sex, which is hilarious. But like not like, oh, I'm like a sex master or some shit like that. No, like in general, like more clinically, like I'm pretty familiar with a lot of sexual things, sexual psychology, so the physical and psychological aspects of sex, and as well as like toys, novelties, the uses, BDSM, the other CBT, cockball torture, whips, and all that kind of stuff. I've grown familiar with it. I'm very familiar with a variety of pornography because of this reason. So that's what led to a lot of funny things, like because I would remember customers by the porn tastes, not like by their faces. So like I'd be like, oh, what'd I help you with last time? I like, oh yeah, you were helping me find granny fuckers, trans granny fuckers number 35. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. I have trans granny fuckers number 36 coming in next month. So I like knew a lot of people's like fetishes and shit. And I kind of remember them by their fetishes or interests or their normie kind of tastes if they're like just into certain toys. A lot of girls, like I knew, like, oh, this one likes clit, this one likes pussy insertion, this one likes a pain, this one likes like, because I'll remember them like, oh, this is the one that likes anal play, whatever. And so I'll like remember a lot of stuff about customers like that, and so I got just crazy familiar. And considering my own sexual taste, which is bisexual or pan or whatever the fuck it is, I'm down for whatever. Like especially when it comes to media consumption. I'm no coomer, don't worry. But I'm just saying, like, I'm like whatever. But because of that, people would just like feel like I could relate to them because they would have certain fetishes or interests, and I wouldn't judge them. I would just hear it out and help them out. Because I didn't care. Like I wasn't judging people because they like jacking off on feet and stuff. I don't care. Like, oh, what you like? Big 8-inch trans cock. Like, that's cool. That's totally fine. You like, I don't know, like getting beat up by like femdom and some girl kicking you and shit and telling you you have a little dick. Like, that's cool. I don't care. So I would help people like that, and so they'd be all shy about like what they were into, and I'd just be like so flat and just cool, chill about it, and then just throw in some jokes and stuff that they would feel comfortable. And they would come to me, like everyone would just be like, hey, where's John at? I wanna learn from him. Like he knows his stuff, like he can help me. And so for a lot of people thought like, oh, he's so friendly, he's so this is, it's all masking. I just need to make some sales. So due to the fact that I developed some long-term customers, like I would have regulars that would come in and buy like a couple $100 worth of stuff, which is cool. I made my job easier if I didn't have to get a re-explanation every time of what it is that they're into, or if they weren't bashful about it. But I did have to deal with people that were bashful and shy, and so on and so forth. You also have to deal with people, it's a sexually, kind of heightened place because of all the stuff there. So you would get guys or girls that were kind of flirtatious or try to offer you parking lot favors and shit like that. Of course, zero interest in that. I would tell all these stories to my wife. She would just laugh because she knows how I am. And but it was just funny to me. Or I would use if I picked up that a girl or a guy were, I don't know, attracted to me for whatever reason, I would use that to make sales. So like I would say words a certain way or talk about certain subjects in a more sultry fashion. And so it would kind of like make him think like, oh, he thinks I'm also sexy. And I was completely indifferent, and they would just buy a bunch of shit. And I was like, cha-ching, that works. But it was cool. I helped a lot of people with their, some sexual dysfunctions. That's why I learned a lot of sexual psychology stuff, because like people would come in with certain dysfunctions or issues, and I would just like read up on it or watch videos on it and learn about it, because I was like, okay, well, that'll let me do my job better, and if I can do my job better, then I can make more money, and if I make more money, that's good for my kids and my wife. So simple as that, right? Adds up, logical decision. The one part I did like I guess myself about the job was getting people or finding people that had like were ashamed of some of their interests, perfectly legal ones. I'm not gonna fucking no, I'm not gonna be cool with people with very illegal fetishes. But perfectly legal ones, just bashful about it. Like, real straight looking guys that really, are actually bisexual and they're curious and want to watch gay porn and shit. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't care. Like, and so I learned a lot of stuff about people that even their like loved ones or people that they knew didn't know shit about. Like just stuff that nobody knew except for apparently me. And I think that part was interesting. I got to learn all these weird secrets about people. Not in a kind of like gossip sort of way, just like it was kind of cool to know that I was giving people a place they can go to talk about things that they normally can't talk about. So that part was interesting to me. That part was cool. That part I actually liked quite a bit. I'm trying to think. Kind of zoning out now, but I'll finish this. I'm gonna finish this. I'm just kind of like zoning out a little bit. You know what it's like. So that was the customer service part. I have other stories to tell, but I'm not gonna do it all here. So if you guys ever want to hear more stories, if I do a live stream, you can ask me about stories. I'll probably remember or something. In any case, as far as coworkers went, like I said, it attracted a lot of strange people. So we got a lot of alcoholics, drug addicts, sometimes people with like personality disorders or other sorts of mental illness that would just get like crazy, probably like BPD, shit like that. People that were kind of paranoid. Yeah. And that's where I met my best friend too, Nora. Was at this job. She had gotten a position there, and we became super good buddies over time. Took a long time because, at first, it's Schizoid, super aloof, but, just I like their honest behavior and sincerity, and I never had to worry about ulterior motives or weird shit like that, and I respected that, and I don't know, just kind of developed from there. But in any case, yeah, coworkers were weird, man. I mean, there's one of the most interesting stories was probably this guy that came to work so high that he couldn't function, and he was just stumbling around behind the counter and like just mumbling to himself and staring off like he was gone, man. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that video of that guy like making weird hand signals like behind like I don't know, some kind of AMPM or 7-Eleven or some shit, like a liquor store, and he's just like fucking gone. Yeah, it was like that. He was non-functional, and he would just sit down and lay around and just like lay on top of movies. He was just fucking gone. And at one point I had to take a lunch break. I had to take like a break, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go next door really quick and grab some food and then come back so I can keep an eye on this guy. And so I did, and by the time I came back, he had like a line of 6 people, and they were yelling at him, and I was like, oh my god, what's going on? They're like, this guy, fuck's wrong with him? Fuck's wrong with this guy? He's fucking high as fuck. And he's just standing there, just staring at the dude in front of him, and that's like all pissed. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, just like blah, 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 and this and that. Oh, it was the fucking worst. I hated that shit, because I was like, ah, great, cool, I gotta deal with this now. And, and he at one point, I don't know where he got a burrito. He had a burrito with him that he had brought, I think, and he starts eating it, and it's just like he starts spilling like just rice and burrito everywhere. And he was like eating chips, and he was dropping chips everywhere and then stepping on them. He was fucking gone. I couldn't even talk to him. Like I'd be like, "What are you doing, man? You need to go home." And he's just be like, I wanna go home. I wanna go home," and just like completely unintelligible. And I think at some point he went to the back room because we had like a little break room, passed out back there, vomited all over the chair, and was never heard from again. Fired at some point. And this is where it gets a little dark, though. This is where it gets a little dark. You guys want to get dark? You want to get dark? Let's get dark. Um, Now that guy later on, when he didn't work there anymore, he had tried to come into the store a few times, and when you get fired like that, you're just not allowed to come back to the store anymore. And we had to tell him to leave or whatever, and he would leave. And I think he started like becoming some kind of gay prostitute type thing, and eventually came to find out that he had been reported missing. And not long after hearing that, I was told that he died. I don't know if he OD'd or what happened, but he died. I don't know if he was murdered. I don't know. The guy died. He was young, younger than me. I was just like, wow. Eh, you know. And other people were like really shocked by it or bothered, and all this, just because they had worked with him, even if he was like fucking high as a kite weirdo. But I was just kind of like, well, that's what happens. It's a common story. Guy gets into a bunch of drugs, gets addicted, gets fired from his jobs, and then dies, ODs or something, or gets into prostitution, and then something terrible happens. Who knows? It was even weirder as I had like his father had come into the store and like gave me this whole like I don't know, sob story or something. I just didn't. I was just like, okay. In my head, I just think, and I know it's judgment or whatever, but in my head, I just think, okay, well, there's often a reason people become the way they become and turn to drugs and prostitution and all kinds of shit like that, and mental illness sometimes, abuse other times, trauma. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much of that was his fault, but I wasn't interested in hearing a story about a guy that I never really cared about. And, that's when I started figuring out more and more, especially that I'm like, there's something going on with my brain. Like, there's something just not clicking here because other people really they gave a shit about this stuff. And I'm like, And that's how I always treated death a lot of the times, too. It's just kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to die too one day. It's just what happens, you know? But luckily, hopefully I can say, that I died on my old deathbed as an old man or something because I didn't make some shit decision that got me killed. And if I die to some arbitrary bullshit, and I mean, that sucks. But that, again, is nothing I can control. So all you can control as far as your death goes is taking care of your body as much as you can, and don't do shit that's going to harm it, and keep your mental health in check a bit, shit like that, and you won't end up ODing somewhere as a gay prostitute. It got real grim, right? Went from funny to like grim as fuck. That's my world, folks. Funny to grim. But all right, that's long enough. Was this like fucking almost 45 minutes? Yeah. So yeah, sub, like, Patreon, subscribe star, Fucking Venmo, PayPal, whatever the fuck you want to use. Use it. Use it. You're schizoids. You don't fucking have a lot of expensive hobbies. I'm just kidding. I don't know if you do. I don't know. I don't know what's real. But, yeah, thanks for listening and all that. Also, I'm going to drop a link of, if you enjoyed some of the music that's been playing in the background, it's, I'm going to drop a link underneath the video of the SoundCloud for that. And thanks to you for the music. Appreciated that. Later.